a disappointing performance, one where I don't think we were ourselves at the right intensity from the start of the game. Did fight our way back into the game and had some chances at the end, in particular, to walk away with a point, but we didn't get that done. So now we sit in a spot where, 2 games left. We know that if we win both, we'll be in the playoffs. The challenge is now we have a really tough opponent in Columbus who we've played now for the third time in about the last 6 weeks. So we're very familiar with them. They're very talented. They've had a ton of games in recent weeks, but regardless of whether they rotate or make some changes, they still have a very deep squad, a very dangerous squad, and one that we need to be prepared for to get a result.
Thanks, Jim. Jonathan Tannenwald.
Thanks, Nico. Jim, I realize that we've asked you now what after multiple games and in multiple press conferences this season, but when you talk about the lacking the desired intensity on Wednesday in a situation like that with so much at stake, what do you attribute that to, and how does that get fixed in time for tomorrow night?
Number one is Orlando is really good right now. They're playing very, very well. I thought that, they're a very athletic, physical team. And we just weren't sharp enough, number one, with the ball. We weren't physical enough defensively. We gave up far too many chances in the first half. Again, I think the biggest thing, Jonathan, is in the 1-goal games this year, which there's been a lot of. I think we're something along the lines of 1 win and 8 late losses. So it's games that we used to win and find ways where, call it winning ugly, grinding a result out, whatever you want to call it. In those tight games, we've always found a way to come out on top. And even in this game where it still is a 1-goal game and we have chances at the end, the little breaks, we haven't been strong enough. So that part, I think, is and was disappointing last night. It's strange because we have played some good soccer, I think, in the recent games. But also you have to give credit to the opponent. On a hot night, they out competed us, and I thought we're better, especially in the first half. So we can't have that happen again against Columbus now. The games are running out, and we know that there has to be urgency from the opening whistle to find a way to get a result.
Joe Tanzi.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good, how are you?
When it comes to Columbus, you mentioned you've seen him a few times recently. Can you take anything from those games and maybe play that to your advantage in the matchup?
Well, look, however, Wilford plans to approach the game with the busyness of their schedule, third game in a week, and for both teams, a busy time and an important time. They've shown, and we learned that in the game at home in Philadelphia. They played a quote unquote second choice group, but it's still a very strong, deep team. And in some ways, those guys are pushing to get into the starting lineup, so they put on good performances. And then you had the luxury of bringing in Cucho and Rossi to change the game. So regardless of who starts, regardless of how they approach the game, you don't get many chances against them. They don't concede a lot of shots. You don't get a lot of shots on target against them. They're at the very top of the league in terms of a lot of the defensive metrics. Everyone thinks of them as how great they are offensively and with the ball, and they are incredible. But defensively, they don't concede a lot of chances. So we have to be ruthless. When we do get looks, we have to finish them off, and that usually means scoring early and trying to continue to push, because you can't sit back on a lead against this team because they have so much attacking firepower and they come at you for the entirety of the 90 minutes. So very tough task for sure. But our group is capable of winning 2 games together. We've done that a lot of times with this group, and that's kind of my message to them. Let's go on a little bit of a win streak here to end the season.
To that point about taking the most of the chances, you maybe try and encourage some more low percentage shots from distance. You've taken a few of them lately with especially with Quinn out there? Is that maybe something you try and mix in just to cause a little bit of chaos in the box?
Yeah, I think shots on target create things. You can have deflections, you can have rebounds, you can follow shots, and just traffic in front of the goal is something that I think causes any team problems. So yeah, we want to have. We don't want to have a situation where we're trying to walk the ball into the goal with the perfect play. Let's play the percentages, get as many shots on goal as possible, follow those shots, be aggressive in the box, have kind of a shoot first mentality. Because again, good things happen, I think, when you make attempts at goal, and don't try to make maybe the perfect play or overpass or go for a flick or a dummy in and around the penalty area. Let's be very direct. And try to get as many attempts at goal as possible. Easier said than done, for sure, but when we do get those looks, let's be aggressive.
Jillian?
Thanks, Nico. Hi, Jim. Another strong performance by Quinn Sullivan in the Orlando game.
Yeah.
What have you seen in training and in growth from him that is attributed to this run of form that he's been on?
Yeah, I think Quinn's up around over 34 games started and up around 40 games played this year, which is that's a ton of games for a young player. And to do it at the level that he's done it at has been really impressive. The goals and assist totals are really good. I think he's been unfortunate too. I think there's been a lot of big saves against him, a couple off the woodwork that I can remember through the year, where it's hit the post and gone out, or a defender's made a big block. But that goal total could be even higher. But he's had a very good season. And I've said to all of our players, but in particular our young players, the difference now between having a good season on a playoff team, right, or a good season on a team that didn't make the playoffs is a big difference. So let's finish the season the right way. Let's get in the playoffs, and those individual accolades, the best 11s, Danny challenging for the Golden Boot, all the little different things, they get talked about a little bit more when you're a playoff team. When you're not, the stats go, those are stats on a bad team, so it's a very fine margin. And it's one that I talked openly about with the guys. Same thing to our strikers, right? They're up in double-digit goals, which is good. But did you score goals for a bad team, or did you score good goals that are big goals for a playoff team, and that maybe get you into the playoffs? So the margins are very fine, and how you're remembered is how you finish. We're not happy with the 2 points against Atlanta at home. The not taking a point in Orlando really hurt. But at the same time, now I've said to the guys, all the dropped points and the silly plays this year, and even the stolen points and the maybe fortunate plays this year that have gone our way, don't really matter. The only thing that matters is the last two games. That's really all we can control at this stage. And if we win those two games, we'll still find ourselves in the playoffs. And then from there, Quinn's season becomes a great season for a young player rather than a forgotten one where it's just a season where, yes, he individually was good, but we didn't make the playoffs. So long-winded answer, but I can't stress enough how important it is to find a way to get in the playoffs.
Jose Nunez?
Hey, Jim, good afternoon. Plenty of games already under your belt, obviously, this season, and the players. At this point, considering the situation you find yourself in and the team finds itself in, what mixture of mentality versus physicality is it going to come down to? Obviously, not a situation you are used to, or at least
Right.
not for a long, long time. And certainly a lot of these guys not used to being in the spot where, it's do or die. So I guess my question is, mentality versus physicality, considering the season that you all have had, what is it looking like? How are they all feeling? And really, what is it going to take?
Yeah, I think everybody's recovered from Orlando, disappointed from Orlando too, and usually the group has a good response after performances when we're not like ourselves. I would say that this year, because, and it's self-inflicted, like I've said 100 times, because we are where we are in the table, you're not able to try things. Even you're not able to get a Cavan or a Raffanello or guys that have earned more minutes, get them more opportunities, because we've set ourselves up where the margins aren't. aren't there for that. And that's unfair to those guys because they've done good in training and they've worked really hard. But we don't have the opportunity, as an example, to see, maybe Danley as an 8, which I think he could do. It's not a game to experiment with that. So we'll try to keep it simple, put guys in their best spots, and find a way to get a result. So that's kind of due to the situation we've put ourselves in. We don't have a real window to tinker or maybe just get guys minutes to see what they are. We could do that if we're in second or third place right now or whatever, fighting for first, where we usually are. But we don't have that luxury. That hurts. It hurts guys getting more minutes and opportunities and learning more about the team. So this has to be a roll out a group that is as fresh as possible, that can fight for everything and find a way to get a result, whether it's the most beautiful 4-0 win or the ugliest 1-0, we get lucky on a penalty kick and, steal 3 points in Columbus. I don't care at this point. And I don't think the players do either. That's kind of the way it is right now.
And in terms of health, Andre kicking the ball a little bit more this past game over in Orlando, all good, 100%?
Not 100%, but getting stronger for sure. We're tentative to just risk him, aggravating that. It doesn't help with our setup, and it leads to kind of chaos, and the back line can't be controlled as good when a center back's taking that kick. And we'll just try to get a plan in place that is smart with Andre. We'll see how he feels exactly, how much he can kick, and how much he trusts things right now. But overall, it is something that is a little bit of a hindrance for sure. But we'll take that risk for what Andre brings in all other aspects of the game.
Thank you, Jim. Safe travels and best of luck.
Kyle?
Hi, Jim. When you look at Wilfred Nancy coach team, historically their defense has given up about almost 2 goals a game, but this year they're giving up about a goal game. So is that more on the defensive end? But what have you attributed in scouting to their changing the defense this year, and how much does Patrick Schulte play into that?
Yeah, I think first of all, he's a good, strong young goalkeeper for sure. That helps. The beauty of soccer is there's a million different ways to do it, right? Sometimes defense, and this is kind of the old Dutch way of thinking. The best defense is to have possession of the ball, right? Because the other team can't score when you have possession. And if you look at you look at Columbus's statistics, they're towards the very top in terms of percentage of possession. So 60% of most games, they have the ball at their feet, which means the opponent can't score. Having said that, though, you can tell Wilfred has done an amazing job getting his guys to really defend the red zone in front of goal. So the urgency they have to make blocks around the 6-yard box, the penalty spot in the top of the 18, they really do a good job of really protecting that area. Where maybe in previous years it was a little bit more open and free flowing, and they could outscore you 5-4, which they still can do. Now when they get their goals, they can lock things up and don't concede a lot. So they've added another layer to what was already a really strong group. He's an incredible coach, one that tomorrow there'll be 3 or 4 things that we try to do that we'll try and take their strengths away. He'll make 3 or 4 moves in game, I'm sure, to counter what we do. And the team that is ruthless and scores their chances will be the one that wins. But it's always a real test against him. We've had some success against them. They've had some success against us in the past years. So it'll be a really tough game for sure. They're playing as well as anybody right now. They're coming off of a tough loss to Miami. So we know we're going to get their best. So expect a really tough game, but certainly they've added a real layer to their group, and that team defending and not conceding a lot of chances.
And final question will go to JD.
Thanks, Nico. Good afternoon, Jim, and safe travels. With the Columbus game and the Cincinnati game after that, and the international break in the middle, does that change the strategy going in as far as rotation? And have you received call-up information yet for who's being called up for the break? And since the last break wasn't very kind injury wise. Does that play a factor this time around? Thanks.
Yeah, look, well, first of all, the call-ups, you guys know most of them already, and you'll see them as they come out. So we will be missing obviously guys, but they won't miss the games, which is the most important thing. Obviously, we're down to 2 games, guys, and I think you guys know this scenarios as well as I do. There's a scenario where if we win and Toronto and DC lose, we'll be in the playoffs before the Cincinnati game. There's also a scenario where if we lose this game and Toronto takes points and Montreal takes a point, our season's over. So the Cincinnati game won't matter. So you have to have urgency. A tie for us in this game, and I'm making this very clear to our players, a tie in this game doesn't clinch, but it can't be eliminated with a point. So this is the reality, and we know exactly where we stand. So can't really talk about Cincinnati until we get through this one with a result, hopefully, and maybe some help or two where it could mean clinching a playoff berth. So our focus has to be Columbus. Obviously, the international break falls at a tough time for the entire league, for the momentum of playoffs, for all the different things, for sure. But that's the reality of the schedule. Guys will go away. Hopefully, they'll stay healthy, and we can regroup and go again against Cincinnati in the last game. And hopefully there's a lot on the line. Hopefully we're fighting to get the 8th spot at that point.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everyone.